Let me give you guys a very useful quote in financial markets. Markets either scare you out or wear you out. Only the strong survive. That is my experience in Bitcoin. Bitcoin will either scare you out with massive gut-wrenching dips or crazy Washington, D.C. overregulation or Senator Warren debanking you. So Bitcoin could scare you out, and if it doesn't, it's going to try and wear you out. It's going to go, we're breaking 100. We're crashing. We're breaking 100K. We're crashing. We're breaking 100K. We're crashing. Only the strong survive. So I think where Bitcoin is today is a wear you out market. I think Bitcoin might try and wear you out by up and down and up and down and SBR. Oh no, Trump lied. Oh, Trump said this about tariffs. Oh no, he took it back. And I wouldn't be surprised if this market didn't start to get serious legs in Q2. I still think Bitcoin goes to 250K to $1 million this year. This year. Call me crazy, but they called me crazy when I said 100K in 2024. Turned out not to be so crazy.
Jack Mallers highlights Bitcoin's amazing trajectory, driven by increasing adoption and innovation as the cryptocurrency continues to make headlines. Strike CEO Jack Mallers emphasizes how resilient Bitcoin is and how it can upend established financial systems. Jack claims that the recent performance of Bitcoin is a sign of a fundamental change in the way that people think about money and value transmission, not merely a trend. Mallers highlights that the traditional fiat system is showing signs of cracking, even though the future of global markets is still uncertain. He thinks that developments in technology, inflation, and monetary policy are paving the way for Bitcoin's future expansion. He contends that this change may reshape how people and organizations deal with money and advance Bitcoin's acceptance. As we explore Jack Mallers' most recent ideas, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications for daily content.
First things first, some thoughts about the price. As I've said, $100,000 for Bitcoin is a big psychological number. I did not expect Bitcoin to blitz through this price and only hang out for a minute. I think Bitcoin's here for a long time at this 100K level. It kind of already has been, and I think it will continue to be. Listen, from a macro standpoint, I think the future of financial markets is relatively unknown, or at least I don't have a lot of confidence in the next 30 to 90 days. I think it's really certain over the next 12 months. Over the next 12 months, there's no way around it. The dollar has to get weaker. The dollar has to get weaker. We know that based on mathematics. We know that based on financial markets. We know that based on what Trump has been advocating for, what Bessent wants. I have as much conviction in a weaker dollar later on this year than I have in anything else. I'm very confident we have weaker dollar, especially once Trump gets in office and his policies start to get put in place. There's no doubt about that. The US dollar financial system and the global financial system will fall apart if the dollar strengthens. Weaker dollar, strong Bitcoin. Now, over the next 30 to 90 days, I have confidence in nothing. Why? Because who knows when Trump gets inaugurated, policies get put in place, people are going to disagree. Even today, the financial markets were trying to read Trump's headlines on tariffs. He came out and said, my tariffs are going to be all over the place. Wait, no, they're not. Yes, they are. No, they're not. Yes, they are. And markets are bouncing around. And I think we have to see, right? A campaign is not a presidency. Promises is not policy, right? And so I think the next 30 to 90 days, I expect a decent amount of volatility. I expect a decent amount of chop. I do think 100K is a big psychological number. Does not surprise me that Bitcoin's flirted with it both up and down. Let me give you guys a very useful quote in financial markets. Markets either scare you out or wear you out. Only the strong survive. That is my experience in Bitcoin. Bitcoin will either scare you out with massive gut-wrenching dips or crazy Washington, D.C. overregulation or Senator Warren debanking you. So Bitcoin could scare you out, and if it doesn't, it's going to try and wear you out. It's going to go, we're breaking 100. We're crashing. We're breaking 100K. We're crashing. We're breaking 100K. We're crashing. Only the strong survive. So I think where Bitcoin is today is a wear you out market. I think this election for the US was very emotional. I think markets are a little exhausted and fatigued. I think Bitcoin might try and wear you out by up and down and up and down and SBR. Oh no, Trump lied. Oh, Trump said this about tariffs. Oh no, he took it back. And I wouldn't be surprised if this market didn't start to get serious legs in Q2. That's my dollar bill impression. That's the best I got at being my father. Is 100K seems to be a net magnet. Markets love round numbers. Why? because markets are made up of humans. Humans are comprised of emotions, okay? Markets love round numbers. Markets are emotional. 100K is a big round number. It's a big psychological event. It's adding a new digit. It's going to flirt with it. It's going to be attracted to it. It's going to be a magnet towards it. And I think between a scare you out and a wear you out, I think Bitcoin is trying to wear people out. Over Christmas, it was just 90K. Now it's back at 100. What's going on? And as you guys know, I still think Bitcoin goes to 250K to $1 million this year. This year. Call me crazy, but they called me crazy when I said 100K in 2024. Turned out not to be so crazy.
Jack Mallers claims that Bitcoin's achievement of $100,000 represents a significant psychological turning point in its history. He was shocked by how fast Bitcoin had risen to this point, pointing out that it hadn't even slowed at $100,000. According to Mallers, Bitcoin will probably stay at this level for a while, with inevitable swings. Mallers also emphasized the hazy short-term prospects for international financial markets, especially in the upcoming 30 to 90 days. He was certain, nevertheless, that the US dollar would drop sharply over the course of the following year. He clarified that a mix of market dynamics, policy choices, and economic variables will be responsible for this reduction. Mallers highlighted how the dollar and Bitcoin have an inverse connection, with a declining dollar frequently increasing the value of Bitcoin. Additionally, he commended Coinbase's legal actions, which revealed unlawful measures to stifle the Bitcoin sector, including Operation Chokepoint 2.0. Mallers praised the industry's tenacity in overcoming major obstacles, such as disinformation efforts and regulatory barriers. Let's examine Jack Mallers' thoughts in greater detail to find out how he views the emergence of Bitcoin and the changing financial environment.
As an American citizen, if this country does not protect my rights, we have nothing. We have nothing. The fact that my government at its highest form and level was trying to deprive me of my livelihood because I was interested in Bitcoin is absolutely insane. The United States of America, its citizens, its businesses, the new administration should stand for none of that. That is utter and complete horseshit. Utter and complete horseshit. Everybody should read these documents and see for yourself. It is blasphemy that we are dealing with this in the United States of America. That is, by definition, unconstitutional to the highest degree. To the highest degree. You are out of your mind. I mean, sometimes I cannot believe it. I cannot believe where the world has gotten to. I've given this thesis before in the past, where I think humanity is very cyclical, okay? And throughout these cycles, I think we get very far abstracted from nature, meaning our true selves, where we belong. Our relationship with nature is very important. Hang with me. I know I sound crazy, but hold on. It's going to be a good point. Our relationship with nature is very important in that we are governed by the immutable laws of the universe, the immutable laws of Mother Nature, okay? Being on a gold standard was exactly that. Who governed our monetary policy on the gold standard? Mother Nature, the universe, right? Now, what we see in humanity throughout history is as we innovate and we build tools, right? We're tool builders. We're very uniquely capable of coordinating, planning, and building a better tomorrow. In other news, Saylor keeps buying Bitcoin. Saylor keeps buying Bitcoin. Big deal. I don't know, this point is tired. For new Bitcoiners, everyone wants to talk about Saylor. I'm happy to talk about Saylor, but for those listening to the show, we talk about Saylor, once a week because he buys Bitcoin once a week. Saylor's the man. I think he's a genius. I'm lucky to call Saylor a friend. He's awesome. And he bought more Bitcoin. Really, to me, the story of Saylor is Bitcoin meets fixing income. That's the story. Bitcoin has entered the bond market, okay? The amount of capital in these markets, okay, and how that capital can be produced, the depth in its liquidity is unparalleled. Something I want to say to you guys, oftentimes what we talk about in Bitcoin is there's a word that we use all the time. It's called a rotation, okay? Meaning there's a certain amount of money in housing, and there's a certain amount of money in equities, and there's a certain amount of money in the bond market. And we talk about that capital rotating into Bitcoin, okay? You've probably heard me talk about this prior, where you say, there's $900 trillion worth of stuff in the world. There's no doubt you've seen me rant about this on someone's clipped it on Twitter or something, right? Where I say there's $900 trillion worth of stuff in the world, meaning $900 trillion worth of real estate that people own, and equities, and bonds, and art, and collectibles, and precious metals, right? And the sum total of stuff that people own in the world is about $900 trillion. And what we've talked about a lot is the rotation of that capital. is that when people realize that buying 20 houses to store your money is a lot worse than just buying one house that you actually live in and a bunch of Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin's going to go up more. It's better at preserving and storing that wealth, right? And that's called a rotation, where we see capital rotating out of certain asset classes like real estate or like equities and like bonds. Okay. What's interesting about what Saylor's doing is he's tapping into capital that isn't necessarily rotating. It's being printed. When you're dealing with fixed income markets and when you're dealing with bond markets, these markets, they're not necessarily selling something they own to buy Bitcoin. They're going to their banks, to their financiers, and they're getting a loan to buy these instruments that Saylor has. And that's what's really, really interesting about what he's doing, is that you're not asking the market to sell assets they have and rotate, is the word that we've used, into Bitcoin. That's happening. That's still happening. I'm rotating capital into Bitcoin. When I get money from my business, it goes straight into Bitcoin. That's going to continue to happen.
Jack Mallers emphasized that the U.S. government had essentially failed to protect his rights as a citizen and expressed his intense disgust and surprise at its conduct. He called attempts by the government to target him and his means of subsistence because of his interest in Bitcoin utter and complete horseshit. Mallers contends that such acts violate the Constitution to the fullest extent possible and violate the fundamental ideals upon which the United States was established. He called the situation blasphemy and pointed out how far society had deviated from fundamental truths, urging everyone to read the pertinent documents. Mallers clarified his conviction that human nature is cyclical and that societies gradually distance themselves from the unchangeable principles of nature. He used the gold standard as an illustration of governance in line with the laws of nature to draw a comparison between healthy monetary systems and the natural order. On the other hand, he expressed disapproval of the existing financial systems, which he believes are not aligned with these ideals. Mallers changed the subject by pointing up Michael Saylor's ongoing Bitcoin purchases and portraying them as a noteworthy development of the cryptocurrency in the bond market. He highlighted the unparalleled depth and liquidity of fixed income markets, pointing out that Saylor's approach involves employing loans to access newly created capital in order to invest in Bitcoin, as opposed to conventional capital rotations from one asset class to another, for example, from real estate to Bitcoin. This is a significant change, according to Mallers, demonstrating how Bitcoin is becoming a part of the financial system without forcing current asset owners to sell. And as always, happy investing.